Damn, we lost a lot of folks out the gate with this episode of Geats. So, I wonder if they'd mind if we check out to see exactly what their unserved wishes actually are. Business suit guy. Get laid? Okay. Douche looking guy. Also, get laid. I'm starting to see a trend. Let's try laundry mom. Get laid by Mr. Clean? Okay. How about the Otaku King? Waifu figures. You know, I should have expected this. Priorities. It's time for a proper introduction to Geats after last week's shakeup. So, let's tear up them sheets with this week's Geats. Proving that speculating on a weekly show can age like milk, those in the camp of Keiwa's sister being gone from this new world gets instantly handed an L, as we start off this week's episode with Keiwa retelling what he thought was a fever dream regarding last week's events to her. However, no time for that, the Drip King is here. Ace, not just the master of the outerwear drip game, but making them panties drip as well. It seems that in this new world, he's a Q Ranger, as the star of stars. Fame and fortune. The most arrogant of folks usually end up wishing for that, and that's all he wished for previously, and he got it. But the Desire Grand Prix has it in for another round for him. Sumudi presents him with what he already knew was coming, but it turns out that the wish granted also has limitations. As it turns out, Sumudi's rocking some leak-proof underwear this time around, so no drip game for her. Thus, what might come off as a selfish wish might be one wish that works within the parameters of this game. We now join Keiwa realizing that the bootleg ZQ driver he ordered came unfinished. Oh, there we go. Joining a soon-to-be pile of ash on a green screen set, it's time for the navigator Sumudi to explain the situation. So, the Yamato, the enemies that we saw last week, have no set goal or origin. So, the Desire Grand Prix is a little hazy on their details, but the game was essentially made in their discourse. So, no one knows what the hell she's talking about, since apparently the memory of the events always disappear at the end of each game. So everyone lives in ignorant bliss. Upon explaining the terms of the game, each person is given a piece of paper to write down their wish to be granted, if they win the game.
Warning, incoming game.
The first round is up, and it's a loot box festival, with Yamatos of all varieties showing up after pillaging. Someplace. I don't know. They don't know shit about them, so I don't know shit about them. The casualties start off right away with our first unlucky guy. Neon-chan thinks teaming up would be the best situation, but New Generation Michi thinks otherwise. But that's okay, New Generation Kiriya is here to help. With sticks and stones, they are ready to break some Yamato bones. Ace, meanwhile, kicks the loot right out of the Yamato. And, on brand, the Drip King gets the water buckle to even get the bad guys moist. Though, the stream is weak, so it's hammer time for the Super Soaker. The beat-a-thon continues as folks from all over start gathering buckles, with Keiwa getting the boost buckle? But he did that with some help, and who was the person that assisted him? It was actually the guy that he interviewed for the job last week. Well, he's in the intro, so he's gonna be sticking around, so that's cool. Old man main writer. Only good things can happen from here. They compare wishes by the waterfront, with Keiwa's two-dimensional wish holding up to the weight of a real wish. So this guy, what's his name again? Takahito. Old man Takahito just wants to save his son, since he's unable to support his recovery efforts. See, that's actually a wish with some substance on it. Lacking in substance, however, I guess they couldn't get this guy to actually get on set and had a stunt leg double. Because when the dude in white shows up to our two wish comparers, he's on a green screen. Taking them to a physical set that serves as a rest point between rounds, turns out others are here as well. Neon and her support guy with Azuma. We see that along with the drivers and the jackets being rocked, they also get themselves a custom phone that keeps up with their stats. And I guess they can't pick their rider name since Keiwa and Neon already are given the titles of Tycoon and Nago. Ace arrives and we get a wide shot revealing that someone else has made the cut. Azuma, quick to compare inches, sizes up Ace to see what he's gotten his hands on. But two Twinkie Dinks don't compare to Rigor Mortis. Also pointing out the guy in the back was actually New Generation Michi holding Ace's used rubber. See, none of this matters to Ace though. It's about the motion of the ocean to him, and he's the shark in there. Time for the next round as defeating all the grunts has lured out the boss. In a screenshot I'm sure won't be overly analyzed by the internet, we see the names and titles for this roster of now 26 participants, down to just 7. I just wish we saw how they met their end. Samudi states that the goal for this mission is to rout the enemy, but only survivors make it to the next round. Keiwa thinks that this is just casual mode on Fire Emblem, and if you die in the game, you'll just come back when it's over. But Ace explains that for Kamen Riders, this is classic Fire Emblem. No resets. Now it's time to transform and roll out with everyone taking on their OC bait entry forms. Everyone pulls out their gimmicks, with most notably New Gen Michi, now Kamen Rider Dapan, taking on Magnum form and goes Camp Sniper mode. Old Man Takahito, now Kamen Rider Genpen, tries holding his own, but gets the picture plot device beaten out of him. As Keiwa starts to waver, it's the boss Yamato who's waving his axe all over Genpen. That thing is even an explosive. Exploding axes. We've strayed too far from our path. Genpen gets his frequent flyer card revoked, with Keiwa coming to his aid. But it's too late. They really put this man in the intro to set expectations and completely subvert it within the same episode. Oh hey, he dropped his buckle. Go get that shit, Keiwa. Where there are waters flowing, there's sure to be a drip feed. As such, here's Ace. Telling Keiwa that that's how the game goes, he has no choice but to fight. Keiwa questions his motives, but Ace is doing this for sick kids. So, Keiwa's feeling that vibe. Boss Yamato shows up, so Geats all over Keiwa and transforms. Using the river as a stimulant, he gets maximum squirt out of his gun this time. Keiwa's got newfound resolve, and enough time to dry out when he shows up to help. This time, he's got boost power. But wait, you can't handle all that throttle, my guy, plus Geats is doing it for the kids. So, Keiwa falls for the baits and gives the power up straight to Geats. Combining fire and water, we get some raw as fuck action, with Geats not only stylishly kicking ass, but serving steam hams with it too. Feeling the need to fuel himself up, Geats goes inside himself once more to swap forms, summoning his Bike Fox and laying down a Rider Punch finisher. After the fight, Ace explains to Keiwa that he fell for the bait. Those kids can go ahead and kick rocks, he just wanted the boost power. But when Keiwa tries to reach for that gas, it quickly busts away, since it's a one-round use item. In the recap, Keiwa asks if it's possible to wish for the other combatants to come back. But you wrote your wish before the game officially started, so you're a bit late on that one. The episode ends with Old Man Takahito's son receiving the necessary funds for his surgery. The donor? Ace himself, with the DGP figurehead wondering what his endgame actually is. So this week gave us a bunch of new riders, but these entry forms are just Toei spending as little money as possible for reused assets and making them look decent. It's smart money on their side, but I'm not going to talk forms until we get some substantial changes to them, since pretty much it's just swap buckles for these guys. Fine, real quick. Dapan's head is terribly big and an eyesore. Buffa's head is also a little on the big side. Nago looks like she's about to DJ a rave. Mary, we don't talk about Mary. And Tycoon is the proper secondary rider and is the only decent one in the bunch. There's also Old Man Genpen, but Geats and his Anbu Black Ops looking ass is still the standout design. Rating time. So this is the proper start of the series after Ace has repurposed things for his benefit, but it serves more into the psyche of Keiwa being part of the Desire Grand Prix now. We lost a lot of folks, but sadly, we didn't see Grandma get clotheslined by the Yamato. But that aside, we got some more seeds planted about the mystery of Ace himself and the first impression of some of these new guides, so it's a very good foundational episode. And it's getting the Ace A. Y'all should know I change up the graphics from time to time. Alright, I guess we gotta talk about it. Y'all wanna analyze that intro? Of course you do. But I'm not playing that game, however, since the intros themselves usually work as a basis for some of the payoffs down the line. But with Revice, we didn't get Evil Iki payoff, so I'm not going to overtly analyze this, or even this. But hey, they did my man Takahito dirty by putting him in the intro just to kill him off. It's completely gonna end up like X8's opening, where we get a rolling roster depending on who's dead or alive or relevant. The song in itself is starting to grow on me after a couple of listens, and I mesh with the vibe for it. It's just not what I expected. What's interesting is on the A side of things is that we know that he's won this thing before. We just don't know how many. Both Sumeru and the masked DGP guy are both questioning his motives, since it looks like if you survive the reset, you are forced to participate again. So he's testing the limits of what wishes can and can't be granted, since it's teased that his wish this time around is different from the last one. It's possible to believe that he might have had a worldview similar to Keiwa at one point in time, but realized that that wish couldn't truly be fulfilled. He plays off as antagonistic, but it's just his way of playing the game, and he still does the right thing at the end. The DGP paints itself as a game that is completely black and white. It's as simple as you defeat the bad guys, you get the wish, but in reality, they are a morally gray instrument. Since you would think there would be a simple enough wish to just wish away the Yamato from even existing and stopping the cycle in full. But that hasn't happened. The Yamato as a whole still continue to be a weak point as they have no origin to tell at this moment. And the only correlation to that and our writers is that the game was made as a way to contain and eliminate them. But then they built a writer system around the loot boxes that these guys drop. So it's a pretty weak basis in my opinion. On the Keiwa side of things, serving as the audience insert and real character to develop in this show, we just see that he's just a good-natured guy that is really getting slapped around with a dose of reality on how the real world works. Like I mentioned last week, he's got a cookie-cutter worldview, like a college kid going out into the real world for the first time. You assume you know it all, and you know it better than those that are living it, but in reality, you don't know jack. And Ace proves that to him in this episode. It's a good dynamic symmetry between these characters. On the back end of things, Mary looks to be the most deceitful out of the bunch. He's coming off as good-natured, but I just can't trust the guy. Dabpan, on the other hand, has a face and attitude that just makes me want to punch him. Buffa seems like a cool guy. He's playing the tough guy role, but I think that he's generally a hard-working guy. After all, when he was handed his driver, he was just out there working. Nago barely got touched on from a character growth standpoint this week, but there is one moment that took me out at the end. In the beginning, they were all told to write down their wish, but then at the end of this game, she's like, oh, wishes get fulfilled in this game? It's like, did you miss the tutorial or something? So, what did you all think about the proper introduction to everyone on this round of Geats? How did you feel about the intro? The fake out Kamen writer, gratuitous green screen, and what's the deal with Ace? Open your cheeks for the next Geats, and I will see you all next week. Bye.